this state. And in fact, I will never forget driving out of Duluth. They had a big billboard when I was growing up. Someone took it out and it said, "Last one to leave, turn off the lights." That's what I'm talking about here. So to really get this climate change bill done, we're going to have someone that thinks like I do. Because otherwise we are not going to be able to get the support to pass it, and the policy won't work for regular people. Because if we do this right, it's going to be a lot of new jobs. It's going to be a lot of new technology. It's going to be stuff that we can sell to the rest of the world. So let's think about climate change that way. I'm thinking of some other challenges I'm going to quick go through that were raised in some of the questions. Immigration reform, I actually see that as part of economy. I see that as part of the openings that we see in our fields and in our factories, the small businesses that we see that are started by our immigrant community. You know them right here in this region. And I see this as an economic imperative to get this done. 70 of our Fortune 500 companies are headed up by people from other countries. 25% of our U.S. Nobel laureates, 25% were born in other countries. You see the numbers in Nevada for the percentage of Hispanic started businesses. Immigrants don't diminish America, they are America. Minnesota is a big hunting state, right? And we have a lot of gun owners in our state, so I always look at this issue in a different way than some of those other people that run for office. And I always say, okay, does this hurt my Uncle Dick in the deer stand, all right? And I look at these things like universal background checks, magazine limits, they don't do that. So having that perspective is what leads you to solutions. And right now in our country, because of what happened, that horrendous shooting in Vegas, because of ordinary citizens having to rush in, right? Rush in and save lives. And then you got people in Washington that aren't willing to stand up to the NRA, even a little bit, right? Aren't willing to say, okay, guess what? The majority of Trump voters right now want universal background check. That was a poll from this summer, a Fox poll that said that. The majority of hunters want to see universal background checks. And I know the legislature did some good work on this in Nevada, but we've got to make sure we do it nationally. And that's how I look at this. I actually carry the bill to close what's called the boyfriend loophole. That bill is sitting on Mitch McConnell's desk right now. What that bill says is if someone, oh, that's a popular thing to raise. If someone that has been convicted of domestic abuse, that they should be allowed to go out and get an AK-47. In the House. It was part of the Violence Against Women Act. And now it is just sitting on his desk, along with so many other things. Democracy reform, right? Getting rid of gerrymandering and making it easier for people to vote. Those things are sitting on his desk. And one last thing I saw in the cards that I wanted to answer this question was about veterans. And I know how patriotic this state is. I can see it right in this room. I figured that when people sign up to serve, there's never a waiting line. They always go, sign up, yeah, come sign up. And when they get home and they need a job, or they need education, or they need health care, there should never be a waiting line in the United States. And I went to Fallon, and I went to Lovelock. Did I get that right? Did I get that right? Yeah, good, because I saw that bridge with all of them. And I actually met with veterans in those communities. And I think we also have to realize that the needs in rural areas for our veterans are different. There's issues of where the VA facilities are, or having to get vouchers to be able to get care at other places. But through that all, as we must make that system work better. And when I got into the Senate is when we had the influx of our brave warriors coming home with things like traumatic brain injuries, and there wasn't enough health care, and we had Walter Reed. And we made a big investment back then. That was the right thing to do. But we don't sit on our laurels. We know there are huge problems still. I did a veterans roundtable in Carson City. Okay, thank you. And we talked about those issues. And we have to make sure that we've got the mental health care for our veterans. We've seen the huge increase in suicide from our veterans. So I'm really committed to working on these issues, as well as a sane foreign policy overall. Foreign policy, which are one, to renew America's leadership around the world, two, to repair our alliances with our allies, instead of with dictators. The third thing is to renegotiate ourselves back into some of these international agreements, like the agreement, the Russian arms agreements, that he precipitously got us out of one of those. The fourth thing is to respond appropriately to threats around the world, which means not doing it by a tweet in your bathrobe at 5 a.m. Inviting, the Taliban to Camp David, and you don't even have to, it's just like, you can go on. And the fifth thing is to reassert American values across the world. Is return to sanity. So all of this hinges on one thing, and that is that we have to win big. We cannot just eke by a victory at 4 in the morning, as sweet as that would be. We want to win big, because that is the only way to pass these things. To finally get something done on pharmaceuticals, to finally do something when it comes to these issues that are literally these challenges like immigration reform and climate change and long-term care and mental health that have just been sitting on the shelf while he sits there and tweets and complains and blames other people. Well, that all goes, what? Okay, bullies, okay, yeah. But as that all goes on, those things just sit. And we know that while people may have jobs, they're having a lot of trouble paying for stuff. And we need to make that better with shared prosperity, and we need to meet the challenges of our time, and we need to make sure that we have a president that when that president goes on TV, that parents don't feel like they have to mute the volume. Because they don't know what he's going to say. I know that people in this room remember whether you're Republicans or Democrats. You remember when you used to watch the president on TV, even if you didn't vote for that president, even if you didn't agree, even if you maybe yelled at the TV a little bit. But the point is you watched out of respect because you wanted to know what that president said, because it was part of your civic duty, and you wanted to pass that on to your kids and to your grandkids. We need to get back to that time again. That is what I'm talking about with decency. So Nevada, we can't leave any area behind, right? Certainly not northern Nevada. Certainly not those states where we want to win those Senate races like Arizona and Colorado. That is what winning big is about. That is how we send Mitch McConnell packing. I'm the one of two left from the Midwest, but I am the one that brings receipts. I have won every race, every place, every time. I have not just won it by a little bit. I have won in all the rural congressional districts, Republican districts. I have won where the steel workers are in northern Minnesota by huge margins. I have won Michelle Bachmann's district every single time. tired of Democratic urban areas, and in fact, my state, had the highest voter turnout of any state in the country when I need the ticket. So that's what I need. And I like to say I was one to race every place every time back to 4th grade, because all those guys are always boasting about everything. So, you know, I got my thing. And in fact, back then, my slogan, which I've since abandoned, was "All the way with Amy K." I think I work here, not anymore. So that is what I bring to this. And I also bring a track record, which will be so good in the general election, of working across the aisle and bringing people with me. I have passed over 100 bills as the lead Democrat in the gridlock of Washington, D.C. I am asking you for your support. I know I don't have the biggest bank account, okay? You know that, because some other people may have been running more ads. But boy, since what happened at that debate stage in New Hampshire, literally, by the next day, we had raised over $2 million from regular people online. No one thought we were going to do that. Every step of the way, I have exceeded expectations. There were people watching my speech in the blizzard that thought I wasn't going to make it through that speech. They're like, I don't know, she's probably going to have to shut this event down. It's a blizzard. They thought I wasn't going to make it through the summer. They thought I wasn't going to make it to the debate stage. And every single time we have exceeded expectations. And today, after I got by the way, the endorsement of the Las Vegas Sun, endorsements. I also got the New York Times with Elizabeth. And I got that. Oh, and we just got the San Jose endorsement in California today. After all that happened, I woke up this morning to see the poll in Nevada. We had gone, literally in a few weeks, to double digits in the polls in the state of Nevada. I'm going to need you by my side, because I think you know, as I said, I don't have the biggest bank account. I'm not the tallest candidate on the stage. I love this back and forth yesterday between the president and Bloomberg, in which the president said that Bloomberg was 5'4", and then Bloomberg said, no, I'm actually taller than that. There's only one candidate that claimed to be 5'4". That is me. I believe in grassroots politics, I believe in movements, and I believe in so many times that the winning candidate on the Democratic side has not been the one everyone thought was going to win at first, right? Think of Jimmy Carter, Bill Clinton, Barack Obama. These were not the people that they thought were going to win, but the people of this country, especially the early states, thought otherwise. They defied the odds. They picked the candidates. That is what's happened in our country's history. Or at least they gave them that oomph to keep going. That's what you guys have done, time and time again. So, I picked the color green for a reason. And that's because it's the color of one of my political mentors, Paul Wellstone. And not everyone knows Paul, but he was a senator from Minnesota who defied the odds. He beat a guy who was super wealthy. No one thought he was going to win. And so what he would do is he would talk really, really fast in his ads, and he would say, I only have 30 seconds and I don't have as much money, so I'm going to say all this stuff in 30 seconds. He would also run back and forth in the parades really, really, really fast so he could meet everyone. But the last year of his life, when he had taken a brave vote against the war in Iraq, that last year he was going to win that re-election. And he died, really tragically, in a plane crash with his wife and daughter and their staff. And it was just a traumatic, traumatic thing. But that year, what I most remember about that year, I had no opponent for my re-election for local office. It sounds nice. And so I got to spend a lot of time with him. And I got to watch this thing that I will never forget. He would go around in this green bus, and that year he had told the state he had MS. And so he was in a lot of pain, and he couldn't run anymore. He could hardly even walk. So he would stand on the back of the green bus, and he would wave. But here's the coolest part. In those parades, there would be so many people that he motivated in these green shirts to run around that bus that you did not even notice he wasn't running himself. There was just all this motion. So I am not asking you to run around a Reno bus right now. But what I am asking you to do is run for me. I only have 8 days left. I spent 2 weeks of that past month in those impeachment hearings that were really important, but I was basically bolted to my desk. That made it harder for those of us that were there. It did. But it was well worth it because we did the right thing. And so what I'm asking you to do is like the people of New Hampshire did when they thought through it and they thought about my strength as a candidate. I'm asking you to do that for me. I'm asking you to go to those caucuses. I'm asking you to vote for me. And mostly, with these 8 days left, I'm asking you to volunteer or at least call your friends or talk to people at work. Tell them what you heard today, because that is what American democracy is about. Our democracy cannot stand 4 more years of a guy who thinks he can bulldoze through it. Our rule of law cannot tolerate 4 more years of a guy who thinks he's above it. And yes, and I say this so strongly in this state, our American dream cannot handle 4 more years of a president that thinks he can choose who lives it. So please, join our green forces. Come on board. We need your help. And I can tell you, if you're on my side, we will win.